The police didn't know it, but they had found the murderer.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at instances in which notorious serial killers narrowly avoided being caught for their horrific acts.
So this is allowed to just bubble away and get worse.
Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy's charismatic facade and handsome appearance are said to have helped him catch unsuspecting young women and girls off guard, resulting in their brutal deaths.
Charm the shoes off of it.
He was an enjoyable, likable, attractive person.
He's confirmed to have killed at least 20 people before his final arrest and conviction in the late 1970s. On July 14, 1974, Bundy was reportedly seen approaching women on a beach in Issaquah, Washington. Posing with his arm in a sling, he would ask for assistance. Then they were gone. However, he didn't emphasize subtlety. Witnesses say Bundy identified himself to his victims as Ted in clear earshot. His Volkswagen Beetle was also in plain sight.
Help him put a sailboat on top of a car and police put out a sketch.
I had the same car as the suspect.
This, coupled with others being able to see and describe Bundy to authorities, helped lay the groundwork for his eventual apprehension.
That spree finally came to an end February 15, 1978, on Cervantes Street in Pensacola, when Bundy was pulled over for an expired tag on a vehicle he had stolen.
Joseph James DeAngelo. From 1974 to 1986, Joseph James DeAngelo terrorized California without apprehension.
He was the boogeyman. He was the man in the bushes that we didn't know who he was, and we didn't know when he was going to strike again.
Known by various monikers, including the Visalia Ransacker, the Original Night Stalker, and the Golden State Killer, DeAngelo, a former police officer, was finally apprehended in 2018.
We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
The Sacramento Police Department received numerous calls from someone claiming to be responsible for his crimes. In one instance, on December 10, 1977, a call was made indicating he would be on Watt Avenue that evening. Early the next morning, a masked man riding a bicycle evaded capture while on the Watt Avenue Bridge. He was seen again 2 hours later, at which point he ditched the bike and ran off on foot. Though never confirmed to be DeAngelo, it did fit his MO of wearing a mask to cover his face.
Do you feel any remorse for what you did to me? For the people whose lives you sadistically cut short? Or for the years of pain to your victims and their family?
Edmund Kemper. A routine traffic stop was nearly the undoing of Edmund Kemper, known as the co-ed killer for its tendency to target women in college hitchhiking around Santa Cruz County, California.
Cynthia Ann Shaw was last seen as she left her Santa Cruz home, saying she intended to hitchhike to classes at Cabrillo College. But there was no clue to her whereabouts.
On May 7, 1972, Kemper picked up Fresno State University students Mary Ann Pesch and Anita Mary Lucchesa, killing them in a wooded area and driving home with their bodies in his trunk.
He told detectives that holding the girls at gunpoint, he had forced Anita to climb into the trunk.
On the way back, he was stopped by a police officer for a broken taillight. However, there was no apparent cause to search his trunk, so Kemper was free to go on his way. His killing spree continued until April of the following year, when he was arrested.
He feels no guilt. It's all about him, and no compassion whatsoever.
Robert Pickton. Robert Pickton might not be quite as infamous as some of the other names on this list, but his crimes are no less shocking.
He's a man who lives in a trailer in the midst of his farm, who is trained as a butcher, who in a way rejects society.
Known as the pig farmer killer, he killed at least 26 women between the late 90s and early 2000s. He targeted sex workers living in an impoverished area of Vancouver.
These women were, they weren't out there because they enjoyed it. They weren't out there because it was a choice for many of them. They were out there to survive.
And as his moniker indicates, he worked as a pig farmer. He had been considered a suspect as early as 1998. And in 1999, a witness told police she had seen a murdered body in his slaughterhouse. This received no follow-up, however. It wasn't until February 22, 2002 that Pickton was finally apprehended.
How many women died or how they died on that pig farm is still unknown.
Gary Ridgway. Known as the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway also went after sex workers.
Like all serial killers, he seemed to have the ability to sense vulnerability in potential victims.
Convicted for 49 killings and having confessed to and suspected of many more, he is the second most prolific serial killer in U.S. history after Samuel Little. His killing spree, which reportedly lasted from 1982 to 1998, if not longer, could have likely been stopped much sooner.
All of us kind of looked at each other and said, that's the guy that's been eluding everybody for 20 years?
On Ridgway's first victim and 7 subsequent ones were traces of an industrial spray paint. This wasn't a commercially sold spray paint, but one primarily used by Ridgway's employer at the time, Kenworth Truck Company. It was DNA evidence that ultimately led to Ridgway's eventual capture decades later. But years of investigating and multiple lives could have been saved with closer examination of this one detail.
The one thing that I want you, Jerry Ridgway, to know, I was that daughter at home, waiting for my mom to come home.
Peter Sutcliffe. It's not uncommon for serial killers to be questioned by authorities years before they're actually caught.
The relief that the man behind these horrible offenses had finally been caught and was behind bars was immense.
That's what happened with Peter Sutcliffe. Known as the Yorkshire Ripper, he targeted female victims, many of them sex workers, often attacking with a hammer. Sutcliffe was one of 5,000 men questioned in the murder of Jean Bernadette Jordan. However, he had an alibi of attending a family party, which was corroborated.
It would not be the last time Peter Sutcliffe slipped through the fingers of the authorities.
This wasn't a lone incident, as Sutcliffe was interviewed 9 times by authorities before he was finally caught. Many have since criticized the West Yorkshire police for their poor handling of this investigation, which allowed Sutcliffe to evade capture multiple times over.
Why he did it? Only he knows.
Paul Bernardo. Paul Bernardo is a Canadian serial killer who committed his horrific crimes with his wife, Karla Homolka, earning them the moniker of the Ken and Barbie killers.
They were attractive looking, they were intelligent, they were in love. The idea that these were the bad guys, that they were capable of doing anything so vile, is something that's hard for us to comprehend.
Perhaps most disturbingly, one of the victims was Karla's sister, Tammy. During their investigation, the police questioned Bernardo multiple times. He even volunteered his DNA. However, this wasn't tested for another 2 years.
Anytime offenders come into contact with the police and they don't end up in handcuffs, they're emboldened. They think they're better, smarter than the police.
In another instance in 1989, a police officer staking out a bus shelter reportedly spotted Bernardo hiding underneath a tree and chased after him on foot before he escaped.
Paul Bernardo insisted right from the beginning, and I'm sure does to this day, that he was not the killer and that Karla was.
John Wayne Gacy, one of the most notorious serial killers. John Wayne Gacy was known as the Killer Clown for his previous work as a children's entertainer.
Even with my kids, they all loved when he was posed as a clown.
He would lure victims to his home and hold them captive, abusing and then eventually murdering them. At least 33 victims have been tied to Gacy. It was his 3rd victim, however, that initially started raising suspicions. 18-year-old John Butkovich previously worked for Gacy's contracting business. His father called the police, saying Butkovich had planned to confront Gacy the night of his disappearance. However, Gacy was questioned and claimed that Butkovich had come by with 2 friends regarding overdue pay and left.
And this youth police, he told me, he talked with the Gacy refused to talk to him. And he should know right away something wrong.
It wasn't until 1978 that the body of Butkovich and 26 others were found on Gacy's property.
Gacy never once showed an ounce of remorse. And people have asked me, well, Gacy had to be nuts. Gacy was not nuts. Gacy was evil.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Even for a serial killer, the crimes committed by Jeffrey Dahmer are unspeakably horrific.
The name Jeffrey Dahmer has become synonymous with evil.
Known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, he brutalized 17 victims from 1978 to 1991.
He said he killed his first victim, Stephen Hicks, when Hicks said he had to go, and Dahmer didn't want to be alone.
2 months before his capture, Dahmer lured Konorak Synthesomphone to his apartment, drugging him before leaving him to go to a bar and get alcohol. Upon returning, Dahmer found Synthesomphone outside next to 3 women who had called 911. When the police arrived, they believed Dahmer's alibi that it was just a domestic dispute and pushed back against the women's protests.
So there's this terrible thing going on behind closed doors and people just aren't seeing it. People aren't wanting to see it.
The police even went up to Dahmer's apartment, where one officer later said he noticed a strange odor that was revealed to be the body of another victim, Tony Hughes. After they left, Dahmer killed Synthesomphone.
We really don't know what happened, or something ain't right.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. the Zodiac Killer. This is the only serial killer on our list to never be caught. The Zodiac Killer killed at least 5 people in San Francisco's Bay Area from December 1968 to October 1969.
Amid the chaos were a series of letters and 4 coded messages, signed simply, the Zodiac.
His final confirmed kill was that of cab driver and doctoral student Paul Stein. This was seen by 3 teenagers in a house across the street.
They apparently didn't hear a gunshot, but they noticed some sort of commotion out here.
They called the police, describing a, quote, husky white man wearing, quote, a dark or black jacket. However, the dispatcher told the San Francisco Police Department the suspect was black. The Zodiac later claimed to have been a supposed witness who was briefly questioned by officers. Due to the miscommunication with the dispatcher, he likely got away. Though there have been multiple suspects, his identity remains unknown.
That was one of his probably major motivations was, look at me, you'll never catch me. I'm so good at what I do. I'm such a coward.
Why do you think serial killers are the subject of such fascination? Let us know in the comments.
Don't get up.
Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.